It's week 7. Welcome into the Early Edge NFL Pick Show. I'm here in studio, the CBS Florida studios with RJ White. We have Will Brinson joining us. Larry taking the day off, but don't worry, we have his best bet. And this show is brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. It is week 7 already. I know I say this every week, but I truly can't believe it. It has flown by. RJ, like I said, here in studio with us. Last week was a big week for the Dogs, guys. We talked about how well they did, not only covering, but winning straight up. Well, week 6 went back to the favorites. They were 11-4 straight up. RJ, how we feeling heading into week 7?
Feeling pretty good. A little bit of a shaky Monday, not just for me, but for my Bills. So we'll see if we can get over that. Good week overall, but just those Monday games were a little bit wonky to me.
Well, they got the bye. Ravens, Bills have the bye. They can sit out, think about what has happened to them, really. It's just injuries, though. Josh Allen's doing all he can. You know, injuries have really hurt them. They're getting a little bit healthier on defense. Hopefully a bye week helps them out. Heading into week 7, Will, how we feeling?
Feeling great. I'm sorry that the Bills dressed up as the Titans for an early Halloween for RJ, but I think if you're looking at two teams, like two good AFC teams who should be contenders, like almost every year, who desperately need a bye to get healthy, couldn't come at a better time for the Bills and the Ravens. The Bills need to fix that defense, of course, but Baltimore just needs like 3 weeks off.
Yeah, Baltimore does need a full month. But as a Patriots fan, I'm quite happy because now Pat's at the top at that AFC East. All right, we're going to run through every single game on this week 7 slate, starting with Thursday night football. We've got Steelers laying 5.5 at the Bengals. Look ahead here with Steelers 4.5, reopened at 5.5. Total opened at 42 in the hook. That's up 1 at 43 and the hook. RJ, you're leaning or you like the under at 43.5?
Yeah, I like the under. The Steelers offense has 5.1 yards per play. That puts them alongside the Raiders and Panthers, two teams I think we can all agree are not great offenses. And if you throw them a big number on the road, I wouldn't expect them to cover it. So I'm kind of looking that way with the Bengals in this game. But I like the under better just because the Pittsburgh defense could carve up that Cincinnati offensive line. Pittsburgh has been road favorites 15 times when they're 5+ point road favorites since 2015. The under has hit in 14 of those games. This is just a classic primetime under spot for me. Love it. Getting it at 43.5. I thought it'd be a couple points lower.
And of course, divisional battle, always tough. Steelers, though, coming off 3 straight wins. Bengals coming off their 4th straight loss. Joe Flacco under center now. Didn't throw a pick, had 2 touchdowns. Issue is Mike Gesicki on IR now with a pec. Zach Taylor said he's out for, quote, a while. That does not help an already struggling offense. And Will, I'm assuming that has something to do with you taking the Steelers. Why just the first half, though?
Yeah, so, I think the Bengals are a little live to maybe storm through the back door here. It is a home game. They are desperate. Part of me thinks they might come out and come out energized early on with Joe Flacco there. But you look at the Bengals, they've been outscored 107-16 in the first 3 quarters of their 4-game losing streak and have 3 or fewer points in the first half in that 4-game losing streak as well. So this is a team that's starting slow. I think if you look at Zach Taylor's play calling and sort of approach to early season, it kind of carries over to these early parts of games where he's trying to run the ball and hoping the defense can hang on. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think Pittsburgh comes out and attacks. They feel like they can really make a push in the AFC North here, and that they get a lead in the first half and go to halftime up more than 4 points.
Yeah, I did not see this coming, but the Steelers have really found some sort of rhythm heading into week 7. Aaron Rodgers just outside top 10 in completion percentage, top 10 quarterback rating. He's limiting the picks. You know, he's keeping this football clean, just 3 picks to 10 touchdowns. We know how good he's been in primetime, 13-5. I don't love the 5.5 number. I don't think any of us really love laying 5.5. I just don't think, even with Joe Flacco not throwing a pick, that was one game. That's been his issue. Has been the pick so far. They don't really have much of a ground game going, and the defense really has just remained the biggest issue. Bottom 3 defensive DVOA. The defensive front's not showing really any pressure on opposing quarterbacks. So I just see Aaron Rodgers having a pretty easy time with this one. Again, 5.5 is not ideal, but it's a number I don't mind laying. And the Bengals right now, RJ, the worst point differential in the NFL. Do you lean more my way, thinking they're not going to get much better, or will maybe they do back cover back cover this one?
I think they can. When you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, those are two pretty good guys to equalize when you're throwing the ball downfield. And Flacco should be able to do that better than the last guy they had, Jake Browning, who was just a total disaster. So a lot of those stats were against very good teams that with Jake Browning at quarterback, I think this is a little bit different when you get the Steelers, which I don't think are at that level of teams like the Lions or Packers that they've gotten blown out by.
All right, that is Thursday Night Football. We've got the Sunday slate coming up here on the Early Edge, so don't go anywhere. Rams, Jags, Raiders, Chiefs, we've got it all. Welcome back to the Early Edge NFL Pick Show, running through the Week 7 slate. And I love when we have these early games, which feels like pretty much every week now out in London, England. Kickoff set for 9:30 Eastern, Rams, Jags. Rams laying 3 here, total set at 44 in the hook. Both teams heading into this one at 4-2. Will, you're looking at the Rams laying 3 here.
Well, I mean, let's not sleep on the fact that I also love the Jaguars. I assume this is sort of like when my parents would send my brother and I out to fight in the yard when we were misbehaving. And that, it's like it's two of your favorite things that you love out there. And it's hard to decide which one you want to pull for. Fortunately, I have an older son. That's me in the Rams, and I will pull for the Rams in this one, as my parents, I'm sure, pulled for me. You look at this matchup, and Devin Lloyd's already ruled out here. The Jaguars, I think, are in trouble. Trevor Lawrence was sacked 7 times against the Seahawks last week. Bryce Young and Jared Verse combined for 9 quarterback hits in the previous week. And you have Devontae Adams, who to me is due for a major touchdown regression at some point. He leads the NFL in red zone targets with 12. Somehow only has 2 catches, both for touchdowns, and is currently averaging a career high 15.2 yards per reception. If Puka Nacua is out, look, you can't replace Puka, but Jordan Whittington, it's like sneaky good fill-in. I think he can have a nice game for them. I think LA is able to move the ball effectively and slow down that Jaguars offense, nullify any home field advantage, and come away with a 3+ point win.
All I can think about now, Will, is your parents just like betting on you and your brother. They're out back.
I don't know if they bet on us, but they sent us out there to fight.
I know, but we're on a betting show, so you made the analogy. That's where my head goes with it. RJ, what's your approach to this one?
Yeah, I'm going under 7.5 in the first quarter. I saw it at -105 yesterday when we were locking our picks. Each team has been only one game that's topped this total in the first quarter all year. Early start time for a West Coast team, well, that's without its top player on offense. I know Will kind of talked around the Nacua injury. I think he brings up Devin Lloyd first, but yeah, that's the major injury in this game.
That's
the one that's going to define this game, not Nacua being out. So I don't think they're going to be explosive early in this game. I think they'll keep it on the ground, keep it conservative. Both teams are top 6 in EPA per play on defense. It just might be a low-scoring game overall, but I think taking the under in the first quarter is better than taking it for the full game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a sweat overall. I'd tease it if it was 2.5. I want to get through the 2 key numbers, but I'll take the 3. Will, you mentioned the mistakes with the Jags, and that's really been their Achilles heel, and last week was definitely no exception. You talked about it. 7 sacks, 27 pressures allowed. Lawrence hit a ton of times, missed field goal, missed PAT, 3 drops. I think if they can limit those mistakes, having the advantage of the best player on the other side out with Puka, Tutu Atwell is banged up. The Rams defense has looked good. Matthew Stafford has looked great, but I do think those injuries can catch up to them. And we saw them only manage 17 points to a Ravens defense that has been torn up by everybody else that they faced. They lost to Mac Jones and a banged-up Niners team the week before, and they struggled last week to convert on 3rd down. I think that could possibly happen again against a tough Jags defense, so I will grab the 3 here. Let's move on to the Raiders and the Chiefs. Chiefs, a big old favorite. They're back, folks. Laying 12 here. Total set at 45 and the hook. The early line here was 10.5. So Chiefs have been seeing money, which is not surprising, RJ, because the offense is finally breathing some life into things. They get Rashee Rice back from his 6-game suspension. How do you look at the Chiefs at this point, and what's your play on the game?
Yeah, we'll see how quickly Reyes can get up to speed in this game. I like taking the Raiders team total under 16.5. Just 226 yards against the Titans. The offense continues to struggle without Colton Miller at left tackle, Brock Bowers. I don't think either player will be back for this game. Definitely not Miller. It seems like Bowers is trending toward not playing there. The Raiders have had just one touchdown drive longer than 2 yards over the last 2 weeks. They probably shouldn't have covered against the Titans. They had that free touchdown after the Cam Ward fumble. And the Chiefs aren't going to give the ball away in scoring position like Cam Ward did on that play. You know, Patrick Mahomes is better than that. The Chiefs defense coming off an impressive game, holding elite Detroit offense to 17 points with less than 300 yards. I don't think Vegas touches either of those numbers. So I like taking Raiders under 16.5 as my play.
All right, and like I said, this Chiefs offense bouncing back. They've won now 3 of their last 4. 12 is a hefty number, Will, but you're going to lay it.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this is a little risky because it is a ton of points, and it's possible that the Chiefs, particularly in the second half, just lean on Isaiah Pacheco. I do think, and there's some reports out there that they plan on getting Rashee Rice going early with a heavy workload. I think they will get him involved a lot in the first half. Remember, he was hurt last year, but he's not like coming back from an injury. He's coming back from suspension. When in his last 9 games, when he was healthy, he was on a 126 catch pace, which is ridiculous. I mean, this is a guy that could be essentially a wide receiver 1 for almost any team. And the preseason Super Bowl favorites are getting him back. So I think they're going to utilize him in a big way in the first half, may lean on it a little bit in the second half, that run game. Crazy stat here. Patrick Mahomes has the current longest active streak in the NFL of not covering division games. 7 straight division games he has not covered, which makes me a little nervous, but I think the Chiefs are ready to smash the gas and go all out, thrash the Raiders, and win by 2 touchdowns.
We'll say, no, it doesn't, Will. It doesn't make you that nervous because you're laying the 12 points, which is not crazy. I've spent so much of my life trying to fade this Chiefs team because of all the injuries and this and that. You just can't. You just can't fade Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Now they're getting healthier. You mentioned what Rice has done when healthy. He was averaging 96 yards a game over those first 3 weeks before he got hurt in 2024. It's a massive boost to this offense that's already been putting up points. And for that reason, I'm going to go with the Chiefs team total. I'm going at 27.5, a little bit juicier at 125. I don't care, though. I want the little bit of wiggle room. They've scored 28 plus in each of the last 3 outings, and those were against 2 better defenses in Detroit and the Jags. Ravens were in there. We're going to sort of leave them out of that conversation. Now they're facing a Raiders squad that's already seen 2 teams drop 40 on them. And now you have Rice, Hollywood Brown, and Worthy all playing together for the first time, which maybe there's some clicking that has to happen there, but I just think it means more weapons, better for Patrick Mahomes, more points. I'm going over. Let's move on to the Saints and the Bears. The Bears laying 5 now, down from 5.5. The total from 46 in the hook up to 47. Bears coming off that Monday night win over the Commanders for their 3rd straight win and cover. Saints dropped their 5th game to the Patriots. They are 1-8 in their last 9 road games, so not great news for them. And as I look here, I'm seeing Saints under. I'm going under. We're not expecting a ton of points here, RJ. Tell me why that's the case when it comes to the Saints team total.
Yeah, the Saints have scored 20 plus twice. One was thanks to a long fumble return touchdown against the Giants, something like 87 yards. They're just 25th in EPA per play. The Chicago defense starting to get healthy coming out of the bye. They got some cornerbacks back. They got some linebackers back. I would be more in on this play if Grady Jarrett returns to practice this week. He's key in the middle of that. This is really about fading Spencer Rattler going on the road in a tough environment with a team that now believes in itself. Crowd is going to be amped, maybe making a playoff push here. I like fading the Saints on the road in that situation, but I would rather play the team total under than actually play the spread on the Bears.
And our friend Will, who always brings us the narratives, is agreeing, but he also says it's a Dennis Allen revenge game, of course, the D coordinator for the Bears who was with the Saints for a while.
Look, we got a lot of coaching revenge on the slate this week. I was thrilled when I went to our Google Doc that we put our picks in to type in Saints team total under, and RJ had already put it in there. I was like, well, look, I don't want it to look like I'm copying RJ's paper. I came to the same conclusion that he did. I thought the Bears defense on Monday night against the Commanders looked like a totally different unit than it had early in the season. Ben Johnson, did a lot of things with Detroit where coming out of the bye, you'd see them be very creative and have new stuff installed. I felt like they were a lot more prepared out of the bye. I think that's maybe the best coaching point for Ben Johnson so far this season. It is a shorter week, but Saints on the road have been really bad this year. And again, Dennis Allen got fired like not long ago by the Saints, and now he's the D coordinator, and he gets to go against Spencer Rattler and, an offense that hasn't done a whole lot on the road. So I think the Bears defense comes to play this week, and I think the Saints are extremely limited. Bears will be able to run the ball, DeAndre Swift in the second half, melt the clock. Saints don't get past that team total.
And DJ Moore is banged up. He spent the night in D.C. after that game in the hospital dealing with a groin.
I wouldn't guess he's playing, but Luther Burden is a pretty nice fill-in for them, so I don't worry too much about that with the Bears.
That's fine. I'm going under on the full game. So really, either way, injury on that side doesn't help. Saints playing at the slowest pace. You talked about Dennis Allen ramping up this defense. The offense is already struggling. Under for me. Also, is it pushy at calling it a revenge game for Spencer Rattler because he was replaced by Caleb Williams in college in 2021 at Oklahoma? Maybe.
No, I love that. That's deep dive in the revenge. That's fantastic,
all right.
Claudia.
All right, we'll go quickly here on Dolphins and Browns. Browns laying 3, total set at 40. Battle of 1 and 5 teams. Dylan Gabriel taking an absolute beating in his first 2 starts. Both losses, taking 8 sacks in the process. Will, I'll come to you first.
All right, so I think this is a really tough game to handicap because you're asking to lay, like 3 points with a Browns team that just hasn't been very good, is starting a rookie quarterback who, by the way, for the first time is not either starting in London or starting on a short week, or starting coming back from London. So it's finally the best spot Dylan Gabriel's been in. The problem here, though, if you like the Dolphins, it's looking like it's going to be cold and nasty, maybe a little bit of rain, some light wind, starting to get in that time of year where Cleveland is a really hard place for, sort of indoor track teams to play. Tua Tagovailoa's arm hasn't looked fantastic. The way I want to attack this game is with Quinshon Judkins props. Now, I didn't see them up yet. You can find him, if I've got to make a pick, I'll go anytime touchdown scorer, Quinshon Judkins, minus 125. But, you look at this matchup. The Dolphins are giving up 5.6 yards per rush, third worst in the NFL, 168.5 rushing yards per game, dead freaking last in the NFL. And Judkins is averaging 4.6 yards per carry despite being behind, despite being part of a bad Browns offense. And he's getting a ton of carries every week. I think they'll keep feeding him this game. He has major breakaway potential, would be DFS chalk. I love all the Judkins props. Shout out to Larry, who would have done the same thing if he were here.
RJ, quick hitter on Browns.
Yeah, Will laid out the case for the Browns offense. Browns defense also an amazing matchup here. That's why I laid the 2.5. I don't want to lay the full 3. So I just like the Browns at minus 0.5 on the first half. I think they're going to be ahead by the time we get to halftime, so I would play that one.
If anything, I would tease the Dolphins. I don't really trust them with the regular line. Tease them with the Packers, get them up to 8.5. They do have just 1 win, but all of their losses, most of their losses have been close. 2 points to the Chargers last week, 3 points against the Panthers the week before, and they were competitive in every division game, which is clearly a lot tougher than we thought it would be in that AFC East. All right, we ripped through those, but there's more. Don't you worry. We have the Sunday slate continued right here on the Early Edge when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Back here running through the Week 7 slate on the Early Edge with Will, RJ, Claudia. And we got to the best part of the show because we're talking Patriots here laying 7 against the Titans, total set at 42. The AFC East leading Patriots with Mike Vrabel returning to the team that sent him away and has struggled ever since. And not only that, they're struggling so bad they just fired their new head coach in Brian Callahan. And so we were just talking off camera here. Will, you called this the narrative bowl because you have the interim head coach bounce, as RJ was calling it, and then, of course, Vrabel returning to the Titans.
Well, technically, Claudia, it's the dead cat bounce.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Right. Yeah. Most people don't like saying dead cat bounce. I do. I also like saying revenge game narratives. And I think that there's a decent chance the Titans saw where they were, saw how bad Brian Callahan was, knew he deserved to be fired, and decided they weren't going to let Mike Vrabel show them how stupid they were for firing him and hiring Brian Callahan. So they canned him this week anyway. But look, the Mike Vrabel, you want to talk about dudes who don't mind being a little spiteful. Mike Vrabel's one of those guys, and I think he is going to try within reason. Now, I don't think he's going to go all out and if it's a blowout, I don't think he's going to do this, but I think he'll try and score 50 on the Titans. I think he is more than willing to drop 50 on the Titans. I love alting you can take the Pats team total. I see 34 and a half over that is plus 455. I think, Drake May's playing great football. Down under 20-1 to win MVP now. Stephon Diggs loves a good revenge game as well. I'm sure he'll be hyped up for his coach. And this Patriots defense can slow down the run, which is going to force Cam Ward to be one-dimensional. That's a problem for the Titans. We'll see how healthy the receiving core is. I think the Patriots steamrolled Tennessee in this one. The only red flag I have here is that the line hasn't moved off of 7. Other than that, give me the Patriots all day.
Okay, I'm going to quickly hit on the Patriots here, too, because I see, RJ, you're going oppo here. I wonder how much that is a play on the number, because 7 is a lot of points, or maybe you have some faith in this Titan squad. I don't, and I think there's such a stark difference between the quarterback play right now, and that's not something crazy to say, but it's just opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to completion percentage, when it comes to accuracy, when it comes to consistency, really. And I don't think the Patriots have fully figured out the run game yet. I do think that there's a lot to be improved there. But the connection that Drake May has with Diggs right now, which is the best when it comes to completion percentage of 51 other duos with at least 30 targets, it is the best between that quarterback and receiver, which is something we've been waiting to see. The defense, I think, has looked great. Cam Ward is under all types of pressure. So I just think there's too big of a gap when it comes to the guys leading these offenses. And the Pats are playing the best that they have since Tom Brady. When it comes to points, when it comes to just the overall wins, and like we talked about, this motivation with Mike Vrabel heading back to Tennessee. That being said, 7 is a lot of points. RJ, tell us why you're taking them.
I am very disappointed in Will Brinson. Not only is he not playing the interim coach bounce here, he is not playing the best interim coach bounce that you could ever have, because Brian Callahan had the worst return on investment against the spread of any coach in the last 20 years, by a wide margin, by the way. Twice as bad as Freddie Kitchens per Evan Abrams. So
wow.
You want a name that I know Will like betting against, it was Freddie Kitchens. Per Larry, interim coach is 20-13 against the spread, 17-16 straight up in the last 15 years in the first game after a midseason firing. And then you look at the interim head coach, it's Mike McCoy. He's been a head coach before. Was the OC that got Denver to the playoffs with Tebow. Helped level up Trevor in Jacksonville as quarterback coach. This guy knows what he's doing. I have confidence in him to go out and cover this number, maybe score a little more points than people are thinking against this defense.
I will say, if the Titans do keep this close and I get a better number in the Patriots, I will be live betting that pretty much every other drive, because I am very high on this Pat squad. All right, we'll wrap the segment up with the Eagles and the Vikings. Eagles laying 2 against the Vikings, total set at 43 in the hook. Eagles coming off back-to-back losses after that strong start. We kind of knew this was coming with how the offense had looked, how lackluster it had been. Revenge game, Carson Wentz and the Vikings coming off a bye. Wentz dealing with a shoulder. Did practice, though. J.J. McCarthy with the ankle. Will, talk to me.
Do you see my head yank up as you said revenge game? It was like someone yelled free beer. Look, Minnesota 4-1 as an underdog, or straight up as an underdog since the start of last season, 2-0 as a home underdog, and more importantly, because that's just a trend, the Eagles' offensive line ranks 30th in the NFL with a 40% pressure rate allowed. The Vikings defense second in the NFL with a 44% pressure rate. There's just a lot that's not going well in Philadelphia. I will absolutely take the Vikings. I think they're one of my favorite bets this weekend. And I think you could even make the case that the wrong team is favored here.
Are you that high as well, RJ?
I was going to say the same thing. Shouldn't Minnesota be favored in this game, especially if we get McCarthy back, the expected quarterback before the season? And you talked about the matchup on one side of the ball. Philly's defense may not have Quinyon Mitchell. After getting trounced by Wan'Dale Robinson and Lil Jordan Humphrey, how do they stop these Minnesota receivers? Because that's several levels up from that pair of Giants receivers I just mentioned. The Philly offense has struggled all year now to face the number 2 defense in EPA per play. So I think the Vikings should be favored in this game. I think we're still giving too much credit to the Eagles for what they did last year.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, I think, is going to see pressure this whole entire game. He is playing at his worst career low in yards per attempt, which is okay sometimes if you have one of the best running backs in the league and he's playing well, but Saquon Barkley also playing at one of the worst and lowest points of his career as well, on pace to have the largest year-to-year yards drop from the year prior in NFL history. That's not great. So I don't have any faith in this Philly offense. I don't have a ton of faith in the Vikings offense. I trust their defense a lot more, so I'm going to go with the total game under there. I will say, though, it's very rare for Sirianni and Hurts to lose back-to-back games, which they did. They haven't done it since Week 7 of 2021. All right, we're running through this Week 7 slate in the NFL, but don't worry, there's more to come running through the rest of that 4 p.m. slate here on the Early Edge. Welcome back to the Early Edge here with Will, RJ. I'm Claudia, running through the Week 7 slate. And we have the last remaining winless team in the Jets facing the Panthers. We've seen this line flip on Sunday at BetMGM. It opened Jets as the 1.5-point favorite. Panthers now the 1.5-point favorite at 500, coming off back-to-back wins, both by a field goal. RJ, looking at this game, I think we can all be rather quick on it. It's a gross one, but if you had to choose an angle, where are you going?
Yeah, I lean to the Jets post-line move. You know, I couldn't bring myself to play the Panthers as underdogs, even though I knew the line was going to flip. It's a stay away for me. Both teams have been great running the ball, though, so better live betting situation. Whichever team gets up first, just take them to maintain the lead there.
Well,
yeah, look, the Panthers haven't been road favorites since November of 2021. I think our research team even said 2022, but I think that game actually closed with the Giants favored. The Panthers have no business being favored. Neither do the Jets. I think Carolina's going to try to run. The Jets are going to try to run. Give me the under.
Just give me anything. Rico Dowdle, 180-plus yards last week. I don't know if that continues, but he's going crazy. And I just can't put my hard-earned money on a team that had negative passing yards, that allowed 9 sacks, went just 2 of 15 on third down. I've seen nothing from this Jets team that makes me want to actually put my money on them. Panthers haven't been great, but we have seen them put up some points. They're stringing together wins. It's a lean on the Panthers, but it's a gross game. I'd skip it. Giants, Broncos laying 7 total at 40 and the hook down to 40 now. Broncos with 3 straight wins, tied with the Chargers at the top of that AFC West. Jackson Dart and the Giants, here they come, coming off a win over the Super Bowl champ Eagles, despite all of the odds, RJ. What do you make of this Giant squad?
Yeah, I think this is a good spot for Denver, coming off an awful offensive game, and the Giants sky high after beating those Eagles, having the mini bye to sit on that and think about how great they were in that game. I think the Denver defense dictates this game. They can shut down Dart as a runner, and I'm not scared of the Giants passing attack. I don't think we're going to see a Wandale and Lil Jordan Humphrey go off like we did last week in this one. So Giants defense 29th in yards per rush, so Denver's offense can lean on the run game, especially when they're ahead, to keep and maintain the lead and maybe even extend it. I'm hoping I can get -6.5 at some point. It looks like the line is trending a little bit toward that direction as people get excited about the Giants. So if I can get -6.5, I'm going to lock it on the Broncos.
And we see this graphic here. Broncos have been dominant in the trenches. They're leading in pressure rate allowed, best sack differential through 6 weeks since 1988. So I could definitely see them getting to Dart, who has been sacked 8 times in 3 games. It looks like we're all on the same side here. Will, tell us why you like to lay the 7.
Yeah, I think Denver matches up pretty well with the Giants. Now, look, the Giants can get pressure on you. They played a fantastic game against the Eagles. They are on, a lengthier rest period than what the Broncos are dealing with, obviously coming back from London. Then you got to travel to Mile High still early in the season. I just think you're going to see a good game. Like we've seen Sean Payton and Bo Nix attack at home, bad secondaries. This is a spot for the Broncos to do that. I think we get a good Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton game, and the Broncos lead on the run game to close it out and cover the 7. But I agree with RJ. Obviously, 6.5 would be a big one here.
I do think it was wildly impressive what the Giants were able to do, although the Eagles haven't looked all that great. Without Malik Neighbors, no Darius Slayton. I just think that's very difficult to do now coming on the road against really the best defense in the NFL. So I will also lay the 7 with the Broncos for everything else I mentioned. And I'm a big component of if you win in the trenches, you win the game. And despite that front looking pretty good for the Giants, Broncos are not allowing that pressure. So I like them to win there. Colts, Chargers laying 1.5 total at 48 in the hook. Colts coming in at 5-1, coming off back-to-back wins. Chargers bounced back from their back-to-back losses with a win, but it wasn't without a sweat. It was against a weaker team of the Dolphins, just a 2-point win thanks to Cameron Dicker. Well, when you look at this line, you look at what both squads have done. Do you feel like this number is right at 1.5?
Yeah, I think it's about right. This is a tough game to handicap. I mean, the Colts are a good football team. The Chargers are also a really well-coached team that, just kind of does what it needs to do and figures out a way to win. It's Kamani Vidal season, apparently, as if we all didn't see that coming before the year. Last year's hot sleeper, now actually in at starter at running back, but he played well and ran the ball well for the Chargers. He's no Amari Hampton, excuse me. I'll take the Chargers on the money line. I wouldn't, so it's more of a lean for me than an actual best bet or anything. I think it's going to be a hard fought game. Colts have proven they can win anywhere against anyone, but I think the Chargers find a way.
Yeah, I just think, again, it comes back to the injuries that the Chargers have been dealing with. Not only no Marion Hampton, no Quentin Johnston, but your left tackle and your right tackle is banged up. I have to think that tends to wear on them, which is why I'm leaning Colts. But you're taking a better approach, RJ, I would think, by teasing the Colts.
Yeah, tease them up to 7.5. I think facing Indy is a much different beast. You talk about Vidal's game. That was against an atrocious Dolphins run defense. That's not going to happen here in this game. And I think it's going to be tough for them to slow down Jonathan Taylor with a 28th ranked defense in yards per rush. Indy still kind of feels like a team that needs to prove itself, but they're winning. This would probably be a pick 'em to me. I think the line's a little high. Chargers have won once by more than 6 points, so I love teasing this up through the 3 and the 7 to get it to plus 7.5.
Yeah, I just think this Chargers team is way too inconsistent. The Colts have been consistent. That's really the word that comes to mind when it comes to Daniel Jones, when it comes to Jonathan Taylor. The defense has been solid. The injuries worry me a bit, but they're leading in points per game and point differential. They've allowed the fewest sacks. So I think maybe teasing is the safer option, but I don't mind just grabbing that 1.5. Commanders and Cowboys from 2.5 down to 2. The Commanders are the favorite. The total from 55 down to 54 and the hook. Of course, divisional battle, always going to be tough back and forth. Highest total on the board, and I checked that we've seen this season at 54 and the hook. RJ, both coming off a loss as favorites, blowing a fourth quarter lead. They're going to be hungry for a win here.
Yeah, I like taking the Commanders team total over 27.5 if I'm going to play it. Dallas defense has allowed 30 plus 4 times, including to Carolina, Chicago, and Russell Wilson's Giants. I mean, this is a better offense than any of those teams. Just got run all over by Rico Dowdle, and Washington has the top yards per rush in the league. So if I'm playing this game, it's probably going to be the Commanders team total over.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. That is my play as well. Dallas first in total offense, but last in total defense, and that is great for the Commanders. That's great for the game script. I think it's going to be a tight game. Lots of back and forth. Pace should be up. They're tied for both having the 6th fastest pace. We saw the Panthers drop 30. The Packers drop 40. The Bears drop 31. Giants 37. So this team total just feels a bit too low. I'm going over 27 in the hook at minus 122. And Will, what say you?
I'm going to back the Cowboys here. Dak Prescott has been immaculate against the Commanders at home in his career. 6-0, 17 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The Cowboys have averaged 41.3 points per game in those matchups. And Dak is, if the Cowboys were winning games this year, Dak would be at the forefront of the MVP conversation. He's playing that well this season. Look, don't get me wrong, Commanders should be able to score. Matt Eberflus' job is on the line here. Jerry Jones pointed out, it's like, by the way, Jerry, you traded Micah Parsons for the season, so could definitely Matt Eberflus's fault. I just think Dak finds a way to get it done because the Commanders won't be able to stop the Cowboys either. Obviously a high-scoring game, but I got the Cowboys coming out on top.
And I should note, too, Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown are both questionable, but we also just saw Daniel
Noah Brown to IR today. Terry McLaurin likely back at practice this week.
Okay, but even without both of them, we saw Jaden Daniels throw his first 3-touchdown game of the season. So with them in or one of them in, that is ideal. Okay, let's go quick hitter on this last one here. Packers, Cardinals. Packers laying 6.5. Total set at 44 in the hook. Will, I'll come to you first.
I think I put down. Did I put down under on this or like lean Cardinals?
Lean Cardinals with the points. Yeah,
lean Cardinals with the points. This is a tough spot. We don't know what the deal with Kyler Murray is. We don't know if Kyler Murray is actually an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett. Maybe just go all full Wolfpack, baby. Go NC. Go Jacoby Brissett and Zonovan Bam Knight in the backfield, and that's how you take down the Packers. No, I think it's a tough. I think it's a tough spread because the Packers look easy, but I would lean Cardinals.
Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison both questionable. Marvin Harrison dealing with that concussion. Does it have something to do with you going under on their team total, RJ?
Yeah, Cardinals team total under 19.5. I just think the offense isn't going to be that effective in this matchup. Green Bay's defense, excellent outside of one poor half against the Cowboys. Allowed 18 or fewer in the other 4 games. Hopefully we can get Devontae Wyatt back, but even if not, I think this is going to stay under the total.
I just want wiggle room here. I'll put the Packers in a teaser with the Dolphins. Green Bay is the better team, but they're just 2-3 ATS. Cardinals are not winning, but they've played in a lot of close games, all of their games within 1 score, so give yourself some wiggle room there. We come back, don't you worry. Sunday Night Football and another Monday night doubleheader. I don't know what's going on with this scheduling, but it's fine. Plenty more football coming back after the break. Welcome back into the Early Edge, wrapping up the Week 7 slate with Will and RJ. I'm Claudia. Let's talk Sunday Night Football. We've got the Falcons and Niners. Pretty significant movement on the total here. The open on Sunday at BetMGM, 44 in the hook, up to 47.5. And what they have the Niners at? They had the Niners at 3, down to 2 now. And, of course, the Niners coming off their first loss with Mac Jones. Falcons coming off the big win over the Bills on Monday night. I'm sorry, RJ. I know that's your squad. We'll come to you first. What's your angle on this one?
Yeah, I took the Falcons at +3 before the move. I just can't see the San Francisco defense being successful now without Bosa and Fred Warner out for the year. So those are 2 major moves that I think are spurring those line moves that you mentioned. Atlanta's defense showed it's legit by holding the Bills to 14 points, have not allowed more than 300 yards in a game all year. I think this game should be pick'em. So I'd still play Atlanta at +2 or +2.5, but this is a great teaser leg. So pairing this with the Colts, Falcons +8, Colts +7.5 on a teaser. Yeah,
those injuries definitely hurt. I think getting Purdy back, though, getting Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle do help a little bit. I don't love laying the 2. Will, I know that is the direction you're going. Do you like it? Do you lean it? Do you love it?
Yeah, I kind of like the 49ers here. Now, I agree with RJ. I mean, look, you take the Falcons' performance on Monday night against the Bills, coupled with the losses on defense for the 49ers, and it makes sense that the line is moving the way that it did. I will just point out that the Falcons have played 1 game outdoors this year. 1 game. You know how many points they're averaging outdoors this year? 0 points outdoors. I do think that matters. I think the turf, I think the indoors, I think it benefits that offense. And I think San Francisco, they're so well coached. They might get George Kittle back. Kendrick Bourne is playing out of his freaking mind right now. We'll see what happens with Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy. That could affect the line a little bit as well. But I like San Francisco's chances to sort of hold serve here at home in what should be a close game. I love that I'm getting the -2 now.
Yeah, you mentioned them playing outside, playing on the road in general. They've had 2 road games, and one of those was a 30-0 loss to the Panthers. Heading into Week 6, I said we'll see just how good this Falcons defense really is, because statistically it was one of the best in the NFL. The schedule was sort of soft, and then they faced the Bills, so I knew had some injuries, but they've proven now that they are legit. That being said, they're on a short week. They're heading to the West Coast. They haven't been great on the road, haven't been great outside. I really cherry-picked this one, but I like it now even more because it's under that key number of 3. Honestly, it's probably a live bet for me, though. If I do get some better value on the Niners, I like their chances of coming back, especially if George Kittle is good to go there. All right, Monday Night Football, another doubleheader. We've got Bucs, we've got Lions in the first one. 5.5 is the side here. Lions laying it. Total set at 52.5. Lions coming off a 13-point loss to the Chiefs, which was surprising. The Bucs, despite all of their injuries, leading the league in wins. Baker Mayfield really making that case for MVP. But now they're without Emeka Egbuka, who had been a star for them. He's out with a hammy. So that means no Bucky Irving. Possibly Mike Evans coming back, but he's still banged up. Chris Godwin and Emeka Egbuka. What do you do with this injury report, Will?
Yeah, I think it's a tough spot for the Bucs. And look, I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, I want to back Baker when he's getting more than 3 points. And I'm going to do the total opposite because I think the Lions have a great home field advantage. They are going to be angry coming off that loss to the Chiefs. They know this is a massive game for the number 1 seed in the NFC potentially. And they can attack the Bucs secondary here with the plethora of weapons that they have. I think we get a big Jameson Williams game. And as good as the Bucs are against the run, the Lions can salt it away with the way that they've been running the football in the second half if they get a lead and kind of keep Baker at bay. So I'll take the Lions to cover what is a surprisingly big number, as scary as it is, against Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I'm leaning laying it as well. They also have a franchise record going 50 straight games without back-to-back losses. I'm not really a trend girly, but I do think they have enough talent to stick to that trend. Jared Goff is playing very well. The backfield is looking put together. Aiden Hutchinson is playing at the elite level that he should be. The team itself, top 10 in quarterback hits. So again, I don't love a 4.5, but I just don't know how long the Bucs luck can keep going with all these injuries, RJ. And even with that said, you're going to take the points.
Yeah, we speak on the Bucs injuries, speak on the injuries to the Lions secondary. I mean, more shorthanded with Brian Branch suspended after what happened at the end of that game. Kirby Joseph limited by injury. They could not slow down Mahomes and co. And Baker's been the MVP. He's been better than Mahomes this year. I don't care if you throw Brashard Perryman and Warwick Dunn and Cadillac Williams out on this team. He's gonna get it done. With these Detroit injuries, he can score points. He can backdoor cover. Detroit's rush offense has also been underwhelming the last 3 weeks, and we know that's what the Tampa defense does well, is shut down the run. I don't know that the Lions get to 30 here, and I think they're going to have to cover this number. So I'll take the Bucs.
I mean, RJ, I think us three could go out there and Baker Mayfield could still throw some darts. Let's move on to Texans Seahawks Monday Night Football game 2. Seahawks 3.5-point favorite. Total set at 41. RJ, I'll come back to you for this one. You're looking at the under.
Yeah, I like the under here at 41. Houston's offense looked better in 2 games before the bye. They got to face uncompetitive teams, injury-ravaged Baltimore defense in particular. Both these defenses are top 7 in yards per play, top 6 in scoring. Seattle's strong defensive front, I think, could dominate Houston's offensive line here. And Houston's defense is going to be the best Seattle's offense has faced since struggling against San Francisco in Week 1. I think it's going to be a similar game to last week's 20-12 game where Seattle won and covered, but it stays well under the total. So I like under 41.
Yeah, and speaking of injuries, the secondary for Seattle banged up. Devin Witherspoon, Julian Love, Reek Whelan, all questionable, but they didn't play last week, and they kept the Jags to just 12 points. Will, you're also going to go under here.
Yeah, and by the way, we got, 9:30 a.m. football on Sunday and 10 p.m. football on Monday? I mean, I'm not complaining, I guess.
I am.
I'm just pointing out. I need
sleep.
A little late. It's a little late if you're on the East Coast, right? Look, this is just a matchup of 2 teams that play really good defense, but also 2 teams who want to be very conservative and run the ball a bunch and then take some deeper shots down the field to their star wide receivers, whether it's Nico Collins or Jackson Smith and Jigba. 10 p.m. start, funky game. You can see everybody up watching the game, complaining about the fact there's no scoring. I think it stays well under the 41.
Another narrative. I honestly agree with you guys. I just liked the hook with the 3.5. I know the Texans have not looked explosive, but the defense hasn't allowed more than 20 points, and they face some good quarterbacks. The issue is they're 1-7 as a dog since 2024, so this is a very strong lean because they haven't been well on the field as dogs, and the Seahawks offense just looks so darn good. But again, I think it's going to be lower scoring. You're getting over that key number of 3. I don't mind it. But I don't love it, and I hate the 10 p.m. kickoff. That is so wrong. Taking a look at the best bets the last week, I guess it was, Week 6. RJ 3-3 overall, so none of us won. Oh, no, RJ won. Okay. RJ kept us afloat. Nice. I'm 4-2 overall. That's good. Larry, who's not here, and Will at 2-4. I'm feeling a win for you this week, Will. I really am. Tell us what your best bet is.
Yeah, give me the Patriots. I'm leaning into, dead cat bounces are great and all that. I get it. Mike McCoy, 49% cover rate in his career, RJ. So let's not act like Mike McCoy is some superhuman coach. I mean, the guy got fired for the Chargers. Hadn't gotten a head coaching job since. Mike Vrabel wants blood, and he is going to get it in Tennessee when he returns and dominates with the Patriots and newly minted MVP candidate Drake May. Patriots by $1 billion.
RJ?
Liking that is fine. Making it a best bet is wild. Vikings +2 is what Will should have said and what I am saying. The Eagles defense could be in trouble in this matchup. Severe mismatch with the Vikings receivers. Like we said, they should probably be favored in this game. So I think we're getting great line value here.
All right. And Larry told us he likes the Lions. He's going to lay the 4.5 with them. I am going to go to the Chiefs team total over 27.5. They're scoring this already. Now you get back one of your best weapons in Rice, who had been absolutely going off before he got hurt. They've scored 28 or more in their last 3 outings. I'm going to bring it down a little bit of wiggle room, 28 or more for this Chiefs squad. That is week 7 for you folks. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Early Edge. For Will, RJ, Larry, who will return next week, and Claudia. Don't forget, you can catch the Early Edge every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m., and catch us here on Wednesdays and Fridays at 1 for the weekly breakdowns. Have a great rest of the day.